Hello, happy Sunday, everybody. Isn't it beautiful?
Very nice. Happy Sunday, everybody.
How's it going? I love that song. Beef goulash. Today I'm going to share with you an easy beef goulash recipe. It's absolutely delightful. It's that time of the year when the leaves are starting to come off the trees in the East Coast. The lawn has them all over, the green grass and the brown. And it's that time of year when we look at dishes that warm up our insides. I've got a bit of a stiff neck today. I must have slept funny, so if I don't do as much dancing, it's my neck. And if you do see me sort of moving like a robot or so.
He just keeps saying, me neck, me neck.
I was like, oh, sausages, what am I going to do? I won't put Doug's on today, oh, buddy. Every time I think of the word sausages, I always think of Doug and Gary now. How are you, Mrs. Spielberg?
Good. What are we drinking today?
We have got this beautiful red wine. Look at this one today.
Ooh, yeah, this one's a good one.
Yeah, we had to go all out.
This one retails for about $60, and it is a French Cabernet Sauvignon from the Bordeaux region, and it's full-bodied, and it's really great with beef. I find this one very well balanced. Do you?
I think this is a good one with beef. This would be a one. You know, beef is unctuous. A dish like this has all that unctuousness to it.
You are unctuous.
Oh, wow, stop me.
But you didn't pass me my wine.
I will pass you your wine, and happy Sunday.
Happy Sunday.
And happy Sunday, everybody tuning in. Thank you so much for everybody tuning in. I'm so sorry again about last week. What happened? We still couldn't work out what happened. I do... Cheers, 1 second.
Betty Fisher just said she made the eggplant parmesan, so thank you, Betty Fisher.
Well,
and I also saw that Deb Marshall said that it was the best eggplant she's ever made. So
fabulous.
That was pretty awesome.
Yeah. Everyone's been making the recipes, haven't they, and sending us messages.
Yeah, we got a message this week from Janet Slay and said she made the sea bass, but she subbed out the sea bass for some halibut and loved it.
Yeah, good combination. You always want to be looking about 125, 130, whichever fish you do choose, you know, and remember to add that spike of brightness with a bit of the champagne vinegar, not lemon because there's too much perfume. Thank you all for tuning in. It's a true honour. It's an honour to be here with you. Our family has grown every Sunday, and it's just lovely to see your photographs and to hear from you. I, like all of us, we miss seeing you on board our vessels.
Margot and Richard also made the eggplant and said it was fantastic. I was getting nervous, guys, because nobody was posting, and I thought that maybe John was sabotaging me throughout the week.
Oh, sausages! That was the best comment that you mentioned. Someone said, look, this is John sabotaging the video because it wasn't my recipe. No, it's a true honour. I checked in with the chefs this week, which was nice, the culinary team. And I love it. I'm the luckiest lad in the world. We have the best culinary team on the ocean, and I feel so lucky to be surrounded by them because they teach me so much. I know you don't get to see them each week, you get to see me, but please know that they're the true heroes, if I was to tell the truth. They're absolutely amazing. So we're going to make a real easy beef goulash recipe. It's so simple, and it's different than what you might have made beforehand, and we'll go through it. First of all, let's talk about what cut of beef. Whenever you go to a grocery store and you see stewing meat, they're always, I'd say 90 to 100%, they're always going to show you this part, which is the round down here. It's just
how round?
It's getting rounder. As COVID goes, I'm getting rounder. Jimmy, be quickly. My wee friend Nelson, who's a trainer, is trying to get me back in shape, and I think I'm in good shape for a circle. By Jove, I'm scared to do the hula dance in case it gets stuck. It's usually the stewing, the round part here, and that's going to really dry up. So please get yourself a butcher and don't buy stewing steak. Tell them you want this section, the chuck round. So up this section is the chuck round, and that's got the best amount of fat and collagen. That collagen will break down as it cooks, because we're going to be cooking it for quite a long time. But what happens is if you use that round, which they always call stewing steak, that rascal just goes like dries up like liver as such, and it's not as good. So always use chuck, and you want to go about 1.5 inches. Because it's cooking so long, we want it to cook that long so it can be nice and tender. So I like to always have my meat about 1.5 inches. We always season the meat about 15 to 20 minutes beforehand. We want the salt to come up with the juice and to go back in. It's a little bit of a reverse osmosis effect. It's sort of a dry brine for it. So here's the beef, and you can see it's got good collagen. That will all break down over the couple of hours of this cooking. And what I like about this recipe is that we don't have to brown the meat. In classical Hungarian cooking, they wouldn't brown the meat, they would just put it in the pot. And I kind of like that because it makes clean up a breeze. And I tried it with browning the meat, and it took away from the paprika. In talking about paprikas, so I'm going to bring these over here, Mrs. Spielberg. There's 3 different types of paprika. They're all from the same plant. You know, we have paprika, which quite commonly will be called sweet paprika. It's a chili pepper, it's a capsicum. It comes originally from Mexico. Christopher Columbus sent it back to Europe, a case of them. And it became very popular in Europe. You know, the Turkish gave it to the Hungarians. Now we see, you know, the Netherlands, the Turkish, Hungary, and where else is there? There's one other place. I'll think about it in a minute, who mainly grows it. So sweet paprika, it's called sweet paprika, it's just regular paprika. In the store, if you see paprika, that means sweet paprika, and that's the most common one of them all. So we've got sweet paprika, we have hot paprika, which is the same batch of peppers, it's just a spicier pepper, but it's the same thing, so it's going to have a little bit more heat to it. And then the smoked paprika, which we see this, and then the Spanish really mastered the smoked paprika. They have the best smoked paprika. And you'll sometimes, if you go to Spain, if you ever go on a Crystal cruise to Barcelona, there's a place called La Boqueria, and there's a place called El Quim in there, and he does an octopus with some paprika on it.
Some egg.
And the egg, and an egg as well, and the seafood, and it's good for finishing off. Smoked paprika, they smoke it for a couple of days over oak, and it just adds a wonderful flavour. And you'll notice, as you go back to, if you go to the Crystal Insider blog and you look at some recipes over this year, you'll notice that I do use it in my cooking. I think it adds lots of flavour without adding lots of calories. But for today, what we're going to use traditional would be regular paprika. And this is the same one what we use when we do like the chicken paprika, you know, the chicken when it's cooked with the sour cream and that. So what we're going to do, well, first of all, when you go to Hungary, they have what we call a paprika paste in a tube. If you go down the river, have you been?
What is that river called?
Oh, stop it, Mrs. Spielberg. It's the most beautiful river ever. Nearly 1,800 miles, 10 countries when you go on a river cruise.
And what's that river called?
Oh, no, stop it.
Oh, I've been teasing John all day because he was saying Danube wrong. So now I think he's got it now.
It is the Danube. But when you go into Budapest, and it's just stunning. If you've never been on a Crystal River cruise, you've got to go. It's just sublime. The picturesque when you go down there, the vineyards, you know, when you look at, as you're sitting down, it's so calm and beautiful.
I think for a stiff neck, you're very animated today.
I've got to make up for last week's eggplant parmesan. Tomato paste. So tomato paste is not really, wouldn't be in a traditional one. The reason why we do this, I find it gives the actual sauce more of a base, more of a thickness, more roundness to it, so it's not thin like a soup.
John Terry said that round is definitely a shape.
Round is definitely, and I'm getting around. Roasted red peppers. Roasted red peppers is going to add sweetness to it and a little bit of that char taste to it. Once again, it's going to add to that sauce. Traditionally, you may not see roasted red peppers, but I'm telling you, when we played about with this recipe, this was the best one to come out. And then we've got the paprika. So the paprika, we're going to blend it with it. By blending the paprika with these, I find this takes away from some of that grittiness. How many times have you had a goulash and it's gritty? By blending these together, I find it really stops some of that grittiness. So I'm just going to turn this on. It might get a little bit noisy. And we're just going to blend this together. We're going to let the blender do all the work. And it's such a good way of making this. If you've ever had goulash before, when you have this, it's really going to have this lovely concentrated flavour. And just look at that scarlet red colour, what we think about when we have a...
It smells good.
Yes, the smell's there, and it really does. It's a game changer, the peppers. And there was one other thing which we'll talk about in a moment, which is a big game changer with this, and that's using balsamic vinegar. And in Hungarian cooking, when we think about Central Europe, when we look at Eastern Europe as well, it's a lot of white vinegar. You know, I think borders now, you know, we can now mix a bit of this and then mix a bit of that. And balsamic vinegar has such a beautiful fruitiness. So I use balsamic vinegar, and I use it actually when I make my Peshwani vindaloo from India. A vindaloo you'd usually use white vinegar, but I actually use balsamic vinegar. It has such a good flavour to it. And anytime something's so unctuous like this, you know, a lot of beef, we want to have a little bit of vinegar in there. You'll notice we're going to use some lemon as well. Let's go over to the pan for a minute, Mrs. Spielberg. And I've got a Dutch oven. So I've got a Dutch oven on, and we've been cooking the onions for a few minutes. So you can see the onions are cooking nicely in there. And what we're going to do now, Mrs. Spielberg, is I'm going to actually get this pepper paste out. The onions have slightly softened, and now we're adding the pepper paste. And we want to cook this for a couple of minutes just to start cooking that out a little bit. And that little cookout, yes, Maria?
Would you be using, so you should be using white balsamic then?
No, I use black balsamic. I use the black balsamic for this one. You know, white balsamic's delightful, but you know, it can be frightfully expensive, and it wouldn't really, it's not going to change this dish. We just use a balsamic, you can see here, and it's not a really aged balsamic. You know, we have some at home which are aged so well, you know.
And how big is the Dutch oven?
This Dutch oven is about this is about 6 quarts. This one,
6 quarts.
yeah. And I kind of like.
Is this a Le Creuset?
It is Le Creuset. I use them a lot. I do think, you know. Listen, the Cuisinart one, I've got that as well. Come back up here, Mr. Spielberg, so you can see me a little for a second. We'll go back down there. I find that the Le Creuset, the enamel on it holds up. I do really like the Cuisinart one as well. The Cuisinart one, for I think it's a third of the price, is really good. I would say as well, this Cuisinart line of pan is brilliant. I mentioned here, so here's the cuisine, here's all clad, and then there's Cuisinart. I love the handle, and this is a third of the price, and it's brilliant. You know, I really highly recommend that. I know I say it every week, but I do want to say
Wait, let me do it. You don't work for the brands.
Well, I don't, and I don't have one of them things where you get a commission for selling it or whatever. It's not my cup of tea. So now, but I think people want genuineness in life. They want someone who's genuine, because you never know if someone's being a Pinocchio.
Maybe someone on our show works for a brand that you could sponsor.
Great. That's fantastic. Happy days. Good luck to you. Okay, so let that cook out. Let's go over. I just want to come back over here, Mrs. Spielberg, for a second. We're going to go back and forth a little bit today. You know, traditionally, when we think about this, it wouldn't have, it's not going to have a carrot, celery, and onion. That's a French, you know, the mirepoix, and that adds sweetness. And we want to eat some vegetables in our diet, so the carrots and celery are going to add the nice sweetness to this as well. But we're going to chop these kind of big. See the way we're chopping them big? And the reason why we're doing that is they're going to be cooking for a couple of hours. If we chop them too small, they'd actually fall apart. So just remember, chop them quite big, and that's going to add great flavour to it as well. This dish freezes really well. However, I will say, the carrots, when you defrost it, the carrots are never going to be the same as they was beforehand. Carrots don't really like getting frozen. So with that, okay.
What do you think of Staub pans?
I think Staub's really good. We've got quite a few Staubs inside of the house. I think they're good. Can I just show you here, Mr. Spielberg? I can see that it's starting to stick, see on the bottom, and that's a sign that this is ready now. We've cooked it out a small amount of paprika, and you can really smell that.
It's amazing,
now.
the smell.
Yeah, the smell. And what I love about this is you don't have to brown the beef. If you think about it, it's going to cook at 325 Fahrenheit. So at 325 Fahrenheit, not to get too sciencey, but the beef's going to be popping out of there, so the top part's going to brown naturally. We have to hit 300 Fahrenheit in order for a Maillard reaction to happen. Maillard reaction is when something browns. That's why when we boil it, it doesn't brown, which is, so if you think about it inside the pan, the top section of the beef is going to be at 300 Fahrenheit inside of there, so that's going to cause a little bit of browning, but we don't really need to with this dish, because they don't do that. So now we've got the beef, we're just coating that in the tomato, in that tomato paste, paprika. You've got that paprika in there, and this is the foundations for that goulash, that beautiful stew that everybody loves. So caraway seed, you use that a lot. Caraway seed is historically, it goes back to the Egyptian days, when we think about it, the Romans loved caraway seed. Some people will use it as a breath freshener. Don't buy ground caraway, it just doesn't last if you ever want to buy it. Always, use your mortar and pestle or a spice grinder. So caraway seeds add a menthol flavour to it, earthy, menthol. Adding the caraway seeds to it, adding 1 bay leaf, that's another, that will add menthol as well to it. Adding that, and then those carrots are going to go in there. So we've got the carrots and the celery going in. There's a lot of water's going to come from them onions and the meat. Remember the water, there's a lot of water inside of meat, and onions have a lot. So you'll notice now when you look, you're going to think, John, Jiminy Cricket, that doesn't look like it's got much water in there, at the moment, because it looks fairly dry, as you can take a look at that. What we're going to do is add the half a cup of stock. So we've got some beef stock. Feel free if you want to use chicken stock. If you haven't got any stock, feel free to use half a cup of water. So now, as you look at this, you're going to think to yourself, this doesn't seem right because there's not that much water. But remember, it's a steaming process. And as this steams in the oven, it's going to cook for 2.5 hours. There's a jolly good chance, well, I actually know, the water, all the water from the onions and the vegetables and the meat will create the meat will just be popping out a small amount. So I've preheated the oven. I'm going to take this and place it into the oven. So just placing it into the oven. So let that cook. While that's cooking, we'll come back to that in a moment. Let's make a spatzle. I absolutely love spatzles. Let's have a slurp. Let's have a slurp. How's everybody feeling? Are we doing a good show today?
I also said that Mark and Jenny made the eggplant parmesan. That was very nice.
Oh my goodness, it is a wonderful recipe. We shared it with some neighbours on the island and they all loved it. We live in Martha's Vineyard, which is just off the east coast. So a lot of spatzle recipes use just milk. What we're going to do, we use actually sour cream. We're really looking for that to have such a creamy. With this one, you'll notice, compared to many, a lot of them just use eggs. I use a lot of egg yolks. I love those northern Italian pastas, and I love egg noodles. So we've got some from our local farm. We've got some of our eggs.
It's so fun to see like the speckle on the eggs.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it?
Eggs.
Yeah. So we're just going to crack an egg on the surface. The classical French way would always be crack it on a surface so you don't get any shell in there. So we're just going to...
Craig wants to know if you added the vinegar to the pot.
The vinegar... Well done, mate. I didn't Jiminy Cricket.
I was gonna say something, but then I didn't read the recipe.
I'll add it to it in a second. Well done. Happy days. Thank you. Do you know it's not a show unless I forget something, is it? So we're adding the eggs to a bowl, and like always when we mix something, it's always wet and dry. When it comes to doing the egg, the whites, just go through your hands. You could use a strainer if you want to, but just going through your hands, you can see that the whites, and we want to reserve these whites. I'll do something with them. The whites actually do freeze as well, just so you know that egg whites can.
I like to make meringue cookies.
You do like to make meringue, and forgotten cookies is called. You call them, is it?
Huh?
What's it called? That cookie? Forgotten?
Forgotten cookie.
Forgotten cookie, yeah. It's a delicious cookie. I think you use walnuts, isn't it? No.
No, I don't.
What is it? Pecans?
No, there's no nuts in it.
There's no nuts?
You're just nuts.
I forgot. I forgot the
It's
recipe.
true.
Okay, so we're mixing the wet ingredients first. So we've got the wet ingredients, mixing them together just so we can bring these together. First we'll mix the wet ingredients, just breaking the egg yolks so they can break up. Just giving these a whisk, break the egg yolks with your whisk, and then just give these a whisk. And then, there we go, happy days. I'm just going to quickly put this pan onto a boil so we can make our spaetzle.
Oh, Holly's going to wind you up with this one. Can she make that one day, my meringue cookies?
Oh, stop it!
Holly, it really just winds them up when I get requests.
Gosh, by Jove, I can't believe it. Holly, come on now. Holly, please. Mrs. Spielberg, look what happened last time with the video. Okay, we're just whisking together. We've got the wet ingredients whisk. I'm just going to take the giant beans. When it comes to nutmeg head, purchase whole nutmeg if you can. The nutmeg is not the same when you buy it pre-ground. It really
Wait,
loses,
share it again because it was too fast.
yeah, certainly so.
Oh, it almost looks like a peanut.
Yeah, well, it loses some of them volatile oils that we love. So, rasp grater, one of my favourite tools in the kitchen, with the nutmeg, freshly grated nutmeg. And, you don't want too much, just enough to give you a back nose, but not something that's going to take over this. And whenever we make spaetzle, what we want to do is, we can always take a little bit, cook a bit to see if it's seasoned correctly. White pepper, you'll notice I love white pepper. I use that a lot in my cooking. Now, different flours, we talked about this before, and I don't want to get like an old record. If you live in Arizona where it's dry, your flour might be a little bit different than someone who's living in a humid place like Florida. So, and then when someone scoops it, America, we measure it by cups. When you scoop, you could add at least 2 ounces more. So we're looking for texture, and I'll show you the texture we're looking for. So now I'm adding the wet ingredients, Mrs. Spielberg, to here. So the wet ingredients are coming in into here. If you are going to buy a spatula at home, please buy a one-piece spatula. I like this company here because those two-piece ones, have you ever seen it where it's a piece of wood? It's like a piece of wood and it's got like a white plastic, and those stain and it just doesn't work.
There was a question if you halved the recipe, would it come out just as good?
Yes, of course, yeah, absolutely, for sure. Absolutely, you could halve it. I do want to say also, if it's okay, this freezes really well. So you blanch it off, which we're going to do in a minute, and it freezes well. Just lay it onto a cookie sheet in the freezer, let it freeze, gather it, and put it in double Ziploc it or double sealable bag, and that will last you about a month. So you can do it. What I love about this recipe, Mrs. Spielberg, is that it's not the work what a pasta has. When you make pasta, it's always a lot of work. Whereas this is something you can make in no time. Now you'll see that we let it sit for 2 hours to overnight. Now I'm looking at this now. I want a little bit more milk in there. I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it really dry. So I'm going to pretend you've done it at home and you've added too much flour, because I always want to show you how you can go wrong. So now you can see that this is way too dry. Just take some milk and take some cream. If it's too wet, you're going to add some more.
Flour.
A little bit more flour. For this one, I'm just adding a little bit more cream, and I purposely try to make mistakes so you at home can always go right. Now this is a texture we're looking for now. So here we go, and there's a jolly good chance if you do leave it overnight, the texture, it could dry up a bit. So add some more milk or cream. Can you see that texture now? Can you see that, Mrs. Spielberg? Mm-hmm. Look at the way it's coming off like that, and that's what we're looking for with a spaetzle. We're looking for that texture, and that nutmeg in there, I have to say, in the white pepper, it adds such a beautiful note to it. It really is. It's just like, you know when you get like Adele singing or one of those singers and they just hit that note and you think, oh gosh, that's just lovely. And that's what this does. So here's the texture right there, okay? Now we want to leave that for a couple of hours to overnight. The reason why is we want the flour to rehydrate and we want the gluten to relax. Because if we cooked it straight away now, it would be edible, but it wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be as fluffy and light. Happy days.
And sausages for Doug.
Is Doug on?
Yep.
Hey Doug, I cannot wait for us to be on a cruise. I can't wait to meet you all. You know, when I was speaking to my dad in England today, he's in a nursing home, and I was telling him, you know, out of everything, the most beautiful thing this year, what's come out of this year, is being able to meet all of you guys and like virtually and just to spend time together. It's like a family getting together each Sunday, and it's beautiful. I can't wait for us to be back sailing together, and I can't wait for us to go on a cruise or our yacht. You're going to absolutely love it. Come on over, Mrs. Spielberg. You'll love the cooking classes on board. We have such a hoot. Okay, so this is what we use to make spaetzle. These are about between 12 and 20 bucks online, $20 online. If you don't have one of these, and you know, I always try to think about you. If you've got one of these colander things, if you've got one of these, just take you could use this as well. You're just going to need to press it with a spatula. So you just put it in and press it through your colander. So you can use other things, you know. I'm not trying to, I know a lot of chefs out there always want to have the big fancy tools. So we rehydrated it overnight.
And you did put this in the fridge for the night.
This was in the fridge for the night, yeah. Okay. If it's a bit dry in the morning, remember that texture. Let me just get my spatula on. 1 second. If it's a bit dry in the morning, Mrs. Spielberg, just make sure, I'm going to show you the texture again. I had to add a little bit of milk to this morning. Can you see the texture? So that's what we're looking for, okay? 4 quarts of water whenever we cook pasta or whenever we cook anything, you know, any sort of pasta, 4 quarts of water, which is 16 cups, 1 tablespoon of salt. It's a game changer. You've got to add your salt. Never add oil to your pasta water, because that will coat the pasta and then your pasta won't be able to absorb any sauces. That's for pasta. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll just turn this down a little bit, small amount, sorry. Let's turn this down. I'm going to, this stove.
What's this tool actually called? Is it a spatzle maker?
I think it is a spatzle maker, yeah. And then feel free, once you've mastered this, feel free to have fun. Add some whole wheat flour to it as well. You know, the likes of whole wheat flour is half a cup of whole wheat flour adds nuttiness. In the winter sometimes when I'm making special dishes like vegetarian dishes, I'll use some chestnut flour in there. I'll roast some butternut squash off and I'll do a spatzle. So let's just take a look and you can see what's happening. And you see the way it's coming in? Can you see the way it's coming out? Can you see that? I'm lifting it up. Normally we don't lift it up, but I'm lifting it up. And what's happening now is the spatzle, the longer you leave it sitting there, the longer they're going to be. The more you move it, the smaller they're going to be.
I think my cinematography on this one's good.
Oh, Jiminy Cricket.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, we do have so much fun. We do, don't we? You know, I spoke with, there's Mike and Melissa are a couple of world cruises, and I spoke to Mike yesterday. He's a Liverpool fan, and he's just a wonderful, wonderful guy. And it's funny because I've become friends with so many of our guests from all over the world, and if you've never been on a Crystal cruise, you'll know it's so much different. It becomes a family. And you can't say it unless you've experienced it. I'm sure many of you have been there, you know what I'm talking about. It's truly special. So now we can see the spatzle is,
I'm getting funny comments about being an Emmy Award-winning cinematographer.
Oh, sausages.
And Anna Marie says, I never get the credit I deserve, so thanks, guys, and Sandy. It just winds them up. It's so fantastic. This is actually cool. I've never seen you make this, and it's doesn't look very hard.
No, this whole dish, Mrs. Spielberg, I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in there. Spatzle is best when it's slightly toasted. So I'm going to heat this up, get it nice and warm. You can use butter. Obviously, butter's going to have the fat in there and water content, whereas oil isn't. So Spatzle is just such an easy dish, 5 minutes cooking, and it's done, you know, and you can freeze it. A pasta, you're going to have to get your pasta maker out, and you have to do it. This is a showstopper. It's one of those dishes where you have it. Alexa, stop. It's one of those dishes when you have it, you just can't help but think, that's a winner. It will become part of your seasonal menu. You know, as we think at this time of year, we're going to be eating a little bit heavier, you know, because it's going into winter. So the spaetzle is, this one's cooking, you know, we let that cook, but look at the way they've swelled, Mrs. Spielberg. Can you see the way they've swelled? Lovely.
Yes. Do you grease the spatzle maker?
No, you don't have to. You're going to be fine.
Someone says that theirs gets sticky, so they're wondering.
Is it? I'm not sure, yeah. But feel free, hey, feel free to
Don't keep doing that. You're going to make the camera go crazy.
Oh, you might get your Emmy taken away. Oh, my neck.
Not the neck. Oh, God.
I can't laugh at my neck.
When men are sick or have any ailments, they make a mountain out of a molehill.
Listen, into ice water. There's ice at the bottom. That's how you do ice water. And what this does is it stops the cooking process. We don't want them. Remember, it's pasta. We don't want it to overcook. You can see that they beautifully cooked now. Okay.
Yep.
And then you put them in ice water, and then they come out, and then you want to toss them in some oil and then they can go off to the freezer. So I'll be freezing these tonight for sometime in December or probably in November. I'll be treating them. Okay, so here's some I prepared yesterday. Look at it. See the way the oil's got a little bit of brownness to it? Mm-hmm. See the way that the butter's brown? And remember, imagine this with some buttered squash and sage.
Oh, yum.
Yeah, it would be really nice. So now we're going to cook the spaetzle. We're just going to brown it. And then I'm going to... I know it's been in salt water, so I'm going to be very... I don't want to be too... have too much...
Would it be impossible to put to make spatzle without dairy?
Without dairy? No, I don't think. Well, you know, dairy, eggs isn't dairy, is it? You don't think to count that as dairy, you know what I mean? It's a good, jolly good question. I don't think so. I think that's achievable. I'd definitely try it with some oat milk, maybe. Maybe try it with some oat milk. Okay, so what we want to do is get a little bit of colour on this spaetzle. I'm so sorry, everybody. I'm going to go over a little bit today, so I apologise. I know a lot of you said a couple of weeks ago that we're okay to do 45 minutes, but I always try to be, apologetic. And I just want to clarify, it wasn't me, it was Mrs. Spielberg's film.
Darcy said eggs are not dairy, so you don't have to worry.
Love Darcy. And Darcy and George are hopefully going to come on a Crystal Cruise.
Yeah.
They've never been on one, so they want to come. And Dennis as well. I can't wait for them all to come on a Crystal Cruise. It'd be so much fun. She's probably one of the funniest ladies I've ever met.
That's a true story.
And on the other side of it as well, probably one of the most beautiful friends I've got. It's just truly a beautiful soul. Okay, so now we've got the spaetzle. That's cooked. Happy days. So you've got this. You can make this beforehand. So let's get it out and let's take a look at what we've made today and just have a quick review on our beef goulash.
How long can you leave the spatzle in the water before putting it in the colander?
You just want it for about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the size of your spaetzle. About 3 to 5 minutes. I'm just going to bring this over here. I'm going to come over here, Mrs. Spielberg.
Okay.
I'm going to start bringing some stuff out.
This is pretty.
Yeah, that's a nice dish.
I love that.
If you can at home, just try to always serve family style. Please don't spend all the time like we do on Crystal Cruises with plate presentation. I much prefer you enjoy your time with your guests. So I serve a lot in these dishes, because I find it's the best way to sort of just let everybody help themselves then. So let's just take a look at what we've got today and what we've made. So we can see here, we've got a little bit of toast on the bottom of these, which I find Spatzle it loves. So I'm just going to take this off to one side.
And this is like the movie magic one that's been pre-prepared that has the balsamic in it, correct?
This has the balsamic, so you can see the sauce. Remember, Spatzle, some people will call it a soup, and some people call it a stew. You know, but we want something that's a little bit saucy. Now what we want to do, we know that there's a lot of unctuousness to it, so what we want to do is add some lemon zest now, and this really brightens up the dish. That fresh lemon zest, the small amount of it, and we want to serve that. Now if you're going to freeze this, don't add the sour cream. Just as always with delicate herbs such as parsley, we want to always chop them at the last moment. So the parsley, I'm just going to get it, and this is Italian parsley. You know, you don't want to use that stuff which is curly parsley. That's pretty, has no flavour to it.
We still have parsley left in our garden.
This is yeah.
Is it from our garden?
I went out and got it today. Well, the garden's starting to go into its winter slumber now. You know, I looked in the garden today. So if you're going to serve this, serve it with some sour cream. So as it comes to serving, I always serve it with sour cream. You can fold it in, but if you're going to freeze it, don't add the sour cream. Sour cream never likes to be reheated. It doesn't like to come to a boil. So like this, for instance, we're going to share this with some neighbours. But I'd always serve the sour cream with it, or you could just fold it in. You know, that's a good portion there. So what I want to do is take some of that Spatzle as well. Always add fresh herbs to your Spatzle as well. We've got a little bit of brown on the butter just to give it the nuttiness, and then we seasoned it with some salt and pepper. But make sure you don't over salt it. Always remember that you can add salt to the dish. With it. If you don't want to make the Spatzle, another thing we can serve this with is mashed potato, or just this is some potatoes. This is called a Bourguignon potato. So Bourguignon. So this would be a potatoes, and this is with caramelized onions. And they're cooked in chicken stock. We're going to be doing a potato dish pretty soon. So here we have the beef. We've got the beef, which has been cooked for a couple of hours. Just take a look at that beef, and we'll pull a piece apart. We want some of that carrot in there, you know, and then a piece of the celery. And we'll have 2 pieces of beef because I'm feeling, make it full.
Donna says this is feeding the carnivore in her, and I can imagine that Mrs. Spielberg's dad and stepmom are really excited for this one because I know this is one of my dad's favorite dishes.
It is. Oh, how lovely. So what we would do now is we take this Mrs. Spielberg and that sour cream. We just add some of that sour cream on top, and that's when you have, if we look at this, I'll just show you quickly. If we look at this meat, it's tender. Now remember, your meat might get chopped, I don't know how they'll chop it at your place, but you know, we're looking for meat. As we look at the meat, it should just fall apart.
It's always nice to be able to cut meat with a butter knife.
Can you see that? How it's just falling apart, the meat, and that's what we're looking for with this one. So we take some of that meat, a little bit of that sour cream, and then look at the nice colour on the Spatzle, and that's what we're looking for, is that nice colour. And now you've got yourself a taste of authentic Hungarian goulash, beef goulash. This beef goulash, we just changed it a little bit. We crystallized it, and now we have, I will say this is the best I've ever had in my life, and I'm not just saying that, I think you trust me by now. It's right there. I can taste the paprika. The meat's so tender. It's not dry. The Spatzle is just wonderful. It's got that rich egg taste to it. And there you have it. A fantastic dish for the winter. Something that you all can achieve. Remember what we did. We made the paste, put it in the pan to some onions that I've been cooking, 4 onions. We added the balsamic. We didn't add the balsamic vinegar, but you should have added the balsamic vinegar, which is in this one. And then we just let the oven do the work. No brown in the meat, no nothing. And it comes out, this beautiful dish. If you want the sauce a little bit thicker, you could just add a little bit of cornstarch and water, like a slurry to it. But I'd say serve it like this. Absolutely perfect.
My question is, did it cure your neck pain?
No.
So it does everything else.
I think a few glasses of this wine, that will as well.
I agree.
I really really look forward to seeing you each week. Thank you for all the kind comments you share with us. I'm looking forward to seeing you on board the cruise. We're getting closer. I know I say it every week, but it is positivity. It's about that. Please, you know, during these times, go within yourself and find positivity. As it gets colder across the world, please, you know, if you've got any elderly neighbours, make sure you check in, especially this year, you know, with everything what's going on, to make sure they're okay. Always look after your neighbour. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry I went over, but I hope you enjoyed yourself.
We love you guys. We love our Crystal family. Thank you so much. Carmen also thinks the wine will address all of the pain. So thank you for that, Carmen.
Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye now.
Keep cooking. Bye-bye.